The Nintendo Switch 2 isn't just launching with Mario Kart World, there will also be enhanced versions of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom available on release, June 5th. Yesterday, I had the chance to go hands-on with the Switch 2, so let's break down everything we know about these upgraded Zelda titles, what's new, how they look, and how they perform. Before we get into my hands-on time with the console, I'll first recap what we know about these new versions of the Switch Zelda games. Like I said in the beginning, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are getting re-releases on the Nintendo Switch 2, and will be available at launch on June 5th. You can access these remastered versions in a few ways. If you already own the Switch version of one of these games, you can buy a Switch 2 upgrade pack, allowing your Switch 2 to play the remastered version of the game. For Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, these upgrade packs will be sold at just under $10, but if you're a Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack member, you'll get them included. You can also buy new Switch 2 edition copies of the games, both digital and physical, which includes a version of the Switch 1 cartridge with the upgrade pack already installed. Importantly, your save data carries over from Switch 1 to Switch 2, either by backing up your save data to the cloud, or by performing a system data transfer from your old Switch 1 to your new Switch 2. However, you'll be able to play a fresh save on your existing Switch profile too, as the upgraded versions of the games include a new save slot, so you can keep your old playthrough and start a new one. What is disappointing is that the Switch 2 version of Breath of the Wild doesn't seem to include the game's DLC, like Master Mode, the Trial of the Sword, and the Champion's Ballad. Of course, if you've already purchased this, I assume it'll carry over on your Nintendo account onto Switch 2, so you can play it on the new version, but it does feel like a real shame that this wasn't included if you buy the Switch 2 version outright. What isn't a disappointment, though, is how these games look. The direct feed footage from Nintendo doesn't compare to seeing these games for yourself. It's actually almost unbelievable seeing them look this good on a Nintendo console. The cameras we use to record my hands-on time with the games really don't do them justice. While I don't know the exact technical details, they're displayed at a much higher resolution, with a much smoother frame rate, and with support for HDR, which, on a compatible screen, makes the colours and contrast far deeper and richer. The games look absolutely amazing on handheld too. I was a little bit concerned at first that this screen would feel like a downgrade, or at best a side grade, from the beautiful Switch OLED screen. But that's not the case. The Switch 2 screen is really nice. It's not only much bigger than the OLED, but it's 1080p too, and has HDR. I didn't get too long to play around on the games themselves, but the increased performance is really noticeable. It's quite surreal seeing these games run this smoothly, especially in a few circumstances that often cause the original versions to struggle a bit, like when going to town on a Guardian. Another benefit of running these games on much more powerful hardware is the decreased loading times. Fast traveling or entering and exiting shrines is so much quicker here. It kind of makes the originals look terrible. I also tried to see if you could still perform a few tricks in the remastered Breath of the Wild. Whistle sprinting, where you can sprint without using stamina, is still in the game, as is the wind bomb, a technique where you launch a bomb into yourself to knock Link forward at high speeds. I'm kind of rusty, so this was a pretty scuffed wind bomb, so I'm not sure if Link reached max speed here. But I didn't notice the game stutter as it loaded the world below me like what happens when performing this technique in the original version. Either way, while it is an unintended glitch, I'm glad this one's not been patched out, because it's so much fun. Of course, both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom's Switch 2 editions can connect to the Nintendo Switch Online app, which will be renamed the Nintendo Switch app before the console's launch. The app will feature a new service called Zelda Notes, which doesn't require Nintendo Switch Online to use. Zelda Notes has 9 main features. First is navigation, a sat-nav function. You can select a point of interest, or even a type of point of interest, like undiscovered shrines or Koroks, and have the app direct you to their location. There's also a spoiler-free setting. In this clip, we can see the Treehouse team are being guided towards something in the Temple of Time, but it's marked on the minimap as a question mark. Second, and perhaps most interesting to any fellow Zelda lore fiends, is voice memories. This could be really cool. When visiting certain locations, you'll be able to listen to characters from the games talk about them and their experiences there. In Breath of the Wild, these will be from Princess Zelda, and in Tears of the Kingdom, it appears that you'll be able to find even more voice memories from Zelda on the surface, as well as ones from King Raru and Master Koga in the sky and the depths respectively. We've only seen glimpses of this mode so far, but there are absolutely loads of them. I'm so excited to discover these little snippets of lore about the world. Hearing what Zelda has to say about the Forgotten Temple, or Raru about the Dragon Head Isles, for example. This could really strengthen the lore of these games, and give us new insight into these mysterious locations. Of course, I'll be covering these in depth when the games launch in a couple of months.
There are several ancient texts and works of literature that speak of the Temple of Time by name, but all of them describe a structure that differs in design from the one we see today. Hyrule's history is long, and this discrepancy is one of the unsolved mysteries of our land.
Auto-build sharing is the only feature of the app that only works in Tears of the Kingdom, which makes sense as that's the only game that has auto-build. This is a feature that really feels like it should have been part of the game at launch, and would significantly have improved the game's longevity. You can send your Zonai creations from your auto-build menu to the smartphone app, and from there, you can easily share them via a QR code. When receiving an auto-build schematic, you just need to connect Zelda notes to your game, then tap Send to Game. And when you open Auto Build, you're prompted to receive the build by pressing plus. Similarly, there's item sharing, which works in both games. There's a new icon in your Key Items Inventory tab, which allows you to deposit to or withdraw from a separate inventory stored in the app. Your Zelda Notes inventory can be shared with other players via a QR code, effectively allowing you to send items from your game to theirs and vice versa. Interestingly, it even appears that this will let you transfer items between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. The website notes that some items from Tears of the Kingdom will be converted to other items when received in Breath of the Wild, which is really interesting. You can also upload, edit, and share photos taken by the Sheikah Slate and Purapad using Photo Studio, as well as add your auto-build or item box QR codes to the images too. Zelda Notes also tracks an absolutely massive number of gameplay stats, which you can see in My Play data. This isn't just number of shrines completed or hours played, it's things like the number and types of enemies defeated, number of weapons collected, or the amount of times you've used your Zonai abilities. These stats can unlock medals in the app too, such as Distance Trekker, which we can see in the trailer is unlocked at the Bronze level for 100 kilometers traveled, or Wealthy, unlocked here up to Silver for 30,000 rupees collected. So while we know that the Switch 2 apparently won't feature an achievement system, the Zelda games are kind of getting one here. You can compare these stats to other players with global play data to see how you rank in different categories and how your playstyle differs from others. Zelda Notes also gives you a daily bonus, obviously once per day. You can roll for a random bonus in the app, then redeem it in the game via your Key Items tab. From the trailer, we can see the player roll the Heart Recovery bonus, which, when used, restores Link's hearts. But we can also see a few other possible bonuses while it spins: Rapid Meal, Sneaky Meal, Energy Cell Recharge, Hasty Meal, Sticky Meal, Bow Repair, Bright Meal, Fireproof Elixir, and Stamina Recovery. However, in the Treehouse gameplay, we see a different set of possible bonuses spin, so it seems like the possible rewards change every day. Here we see, among some of the same ones we've seen before, warding meal, chili meal, spicy meal, equipment repairs, electro meal, and tough meal. These don't seem to be massive bonuses, but might come in handy in a pinch, and bow and equipment repair in particular seems like one of the best things you'll be able to roll here. It's worth noting that the daily bonus resets once every 24 hours. It's not tied to your system's clock like the amiibo scanner is, so it doesn't seem like you'll be able to spoof this so easily. Finally, and probably least interesting, is Amiibo Scan. Zelda Notes keeps track of how many times you've scanned certain amiibo, and once you've done it 5 times, you'll get a bonus use once per day. So that's a summary of everything we know about the Switch 2 versions of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Overall, I'm quite excited to play these versions of these games, especially to see what new lore is given to us through voice memories. While it is a real shame that Breath of the Wild doesn't include the DLC, and that these versions are still paid upgrades, I'll definitely be picking them up. They really do look too good not to. But what do you think? Are you getting the remastered versions of these games? Are you happy with what's included, or disappointed with them for the price? Let me know in the comments. Cheers guys, and I'll see you next time.